Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including The Promised Neverland, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
April Collins.
Hi.
And Andy Potter.
Hello.
Yes, episode 4 of The Promised Neverland, which came out yesterday in Japan. We're having regular coverage of this new winter 2019 anime, The Promised Neverland. Check out our previous podcasts on it at overlyanimated.com or search for us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes or on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. Make sure you've seen this episode 4, and all. Oh, this is 29/10/45. The titles are meaningless at this point, but yes, the 29th of October here. The timeline is starting to matter, as we'll get into in this episode. But yes, make sure you've seen this in all previous episodes of The Promised Neverland. Big episode this week. Michelle, what did you think?
So, show of hands, how many people thought Gilda was going to be the traitor?
What did we conclude last week? Did we discount it?
Someone discounted it. Somebody thought she was a red herring.
It was too obvious, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we were like 100% sure. But I'm very happy that was not the case. Gilda was she knew something was off. She's smart enough to know that something's going on, and it was a lot of stress for her to not be able to talk to Emma, who apparently, she's like, they're friends. So, yay. But now there's an even bigger cliffhanger, so that's fun.
Yeah, Ray's the traitor. That's the cliffhanger. Wow.
I feel like this episode, we're still getting a lot going on, but I feel like this one felt like the action-y parts felt a little more ramped up and the drama parts felt a little more dramatic than the last two. So I'm really high on this one. I think compared to the first one, it's my second fave so far of like all 4 of them.
Second fave, nice.
Second fave.
Yeah.
Okay, April, what'd you think?
I really liked this episode too. It was like, I loved like the drama. I like that we're playing tag, and I like that that's the training mechanism. I totally thought Gilda was going to be the traitor. Like, I was pretty sold throughout like most of the episode. And then like when I went back and watched it the second time, I was so mad because I was like, all the signs were there. It's totally Ray. Like, why didn't I see this before? And I love like getting outsmarted by kids. That makes me feel really great about myself.
Well said.
But no, like this episode was really good, and like the cliffhanger was great, and I'm glad that we've included like Gilda and Dawn now, because I felt they had the right to know, even if I did think that Gilda was the like bad person, the informant as they're calling them. And 10 days is super quick, but I get why Norman said it now. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I can't wait to discuss everything. I've been like going crazy for the last 24 hours or so.
Wow. Okay. High praise from April. Andy, what'd you think?
I really like this episode too. I really enjoy how this episode, I think, improves episode 3 for me. Because episode 3 I was kind of down on because I wasn't happy with all the things that Ray posits in that episode. Like, he kept saying things that were they felt like leaps of logic that I personally would not take in their situation, but now they kind of make sense because he's a traitor, or at least that's what this episode's telling us, that he's the traitor. We'll see if that actually continues into next one. Like, there's been so many double crosses. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to happen, but there's a lot of evidence in favor of Ray being the traitor. I also really like in this episode the interesting use of this first-person camera we see. I think it happens twice.
No, I hated that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
I thought it was really well done. I really liked it. But I do think that this episode is the least consistent in terms of like imagery. Like, there isn't a lot of clock stuff in this episode in that manner. And not that that's bad. It's interesting that we pulled away from that a little bit this episode. And I hope we stay consistent in the future, because I think it does succeed when it stays consistent to the imagery it's been using.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's no clocks, but I think the time theme is still pretty present with the 10 days of escape.
Well, didn't Ray have the clock whenever they were timing? Because he said you have 10 minutes, like, to
That's
not
true.
get
We're still
caught.
timing tag, as you.
Yeah, then I this is probably like just me being crazy, but like during the conversation between Isabella and Sister Crone, there's like a ticking clock in the background of that too.
There could be.
So.
Yeah, but I guess that's all like pretty front loaded in this episode. It feels like the latter half of this episode is a lot more in comparison to the rest of the show, it's a lot less, feels a lot less time to me. Like it's all just happening on one day, essentially. Just them all running around a house for a nondescript amount of time, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll get into this. I definitely agree with the sentiment. This is like our second best episode here. This is a big sigh of relief for me, I think, episode 4, because like we had that fantastic episode 1, and I don't think we're going to get an episode as good as that, just because it's such a specific like solo thing. Like it's its own piece, and it's harder to like tell a continuous story. And I think that we've struggled a little bit in 2 and 3, although they're still very good. I thought this episode, the second half, I thought was phenomenal. The whole thing was coming together with this traitor narrative, and the most like heartening part is that this isn't something that I got out of episode 1. Like, my biggest reaction in the last episode is like, okay, I love this. It's similar to episode 1, and I just want to see more of episode 1. This is like its own thing. Like this, they're able to tell this like complex traitor narrative, and it's something new. And like, so we're going to bring new awesome things to the table, then the show could be really fantastic. And I thought that we handled everything with all the different potential traitors, with the Gilda and the first person shot, especially at the traitor with Isabella, and then the revelation with Ray at the end. I thought it's a fantastic twist. It's presented really well in the structure of the episode. This episode starts with Norman hiding the rope under his bed, and it's like something you don't place any stock into the first time you watch it because it has no significance. But then looking back, it's like that was the start of it all. This episode from start to finish is about Norman trying to suss out Ray, and we get that sense, and it comes together at the end. And I think it's like, they don't explain it that much, but it all makes a lot of, like, you can figure out from the minimal dialogue what Norman did, which is just that he didn't actually tell Don, he just told Ray. And so like if it was gone, that means Ray did it, right? Like it's I thought it was like fantastic, like really brilliant. I think Ray being the traitor is really satisfying. Even if we reverse it, I don't think we will, but even if we reverse it, it's just satisfying right now, because it's like Ray's on his own is like the most suspicious person, but then it's like he's just a hardened, like he's not like he's like hardened, so he's like of course it's not him, he's the suspicious type, but really he's a sweetheart and good, and like, but then no, it's like a subversion of that subversion, and like no, he actually is the suspicious one. I think it all really comes together really well at the end of this episode, and also in the middle throughout all this, there's also some fantastic character work with Emma. Potentially Emma's best episode here. I love her and Gilda in this episode, and her and Norman in one scene towards the end. So I think this is a pretty complete unit here, and some pretty fantastic television, and I'm much more optimistic about the show moving forward now.
I want to say one thing about Norman sussing out Ray. I especially appreciate the moment when he takes Emma aside and asks her, so if you know someone's ratting us out, would you hypothetically take them with us? And she gives him a very logical and strong argument for why she would. And I really think, like, if Emma had said, no, I'd leave them behind, he wouldn't have confronted Ray about it. He would have gone about that reveal a totally different way. And I appreciate that he trusts and respects Emma's opinion enough to, talk to her about this before anything is revealed. And he really values like what she thinks is the best idea in the scenario. And like, again, it just like, it provides more evidence to prove like, yeah, he has a feeling it's right. He's not 100% sure, but that's something they lay through the entire episode. So it doesn't feel out of nowhere at all.
Yes, in retrospect, that Emma and Norman conversation is so fantastic, because at that point, it's like Norman knows at that point, like he must have checked under his bed before. Then he went to Emma, and he's like trying to figure out how Emma would deal with it, and how he's going to deal with it. And yeah, if the conclusion was, we're going to leave this person behind, we might kill this person, like then he wouldn't have confronted Ray. Like that's just giving up the high ground of him knowing. So he must be confronting Ray here in order to, like Emma said, bring him back into the fold and try to like convince him to actually work with them. It's such the best twists, like have all these fantastic things looking backwards that like it's like compelling the first time you watch it, and then you look back and then it's like even more compelling and even more meaningful. And like Andy said, I think this does a lot with Ray's character. I haven't even thought of all the things from the previous episodes how this might explain to Ray, when they were young, Ray in the beginning, like he's like, there's this all is a lie. It's all like maybe he did know. Maybe he really was told from a young
Maybe he's
age.
known the entire time.
He might have. Like, he seems the most kind of. I feel like even though Norman is so good at figuring things out, I feel like Ray constantly is calculating everything and always seems to have a secret. And that's, again, part of what makes the twist not feel out of nowhere. It's like, oh no, that kind of like given Ray's persona character, it kind of makes sense that he would be the traitor after all.
Yeah, and even he does it a second time in episode 1 too, Dylan, when they're at the fence before they go like in front of that wall. He like stops them from going anywhere. Like he's just subtly, maybe not subtly, but looking back, it's not subtle. But like he's just keeping people from leaving and just being like, yeah, there's no reason to go there, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's another way to look at it. Is he's trying to keep them there because he's working with.
Yeah,
there's a lot I want to revisit with Ray's character now. April, what was your reaction when you found out it was Ray at the end with the twist? Were you surprised?
I was surprised, and then like it was one of those moments where like you know how they say before your death your life flashes before your eyes. So I had one of like those moments, but it was like the entire episode and then everything thus far, and I was like, oh, it makes sense now. Like again, that's why I was like, I hate being outsmarted by children because or at least I really enjoyed in this sense because I was just like thinking back, I was like, okay, that conversation between like Norman and Emma makes like total sense. Like, and it's not that I never, and then it also makes sense where like even like Ray is telling Emma that she should be suspicious of everyone, and it, like. And so that conversation, like the first time I watched it, I was just like, okay, like that's just Ray being pessimistic, whatever. But then like on the second watch, I was just like, oh my gosh, like he's not like really hiding the fact that, I mean, maybe I just know and then everything becomes obvious. But like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like he's really like trying to like push it off to someone else and like not tell any, you know, but also he's sort of like throwing it in their faces too, like because he seems to like have all of this information, and I'm like, how do you have all of this information? How do you know exactly that it's behind the ear? How do you know how to like disable it and that it's going to take you 10 days? Like no one just knows how long it's going to take them to disable like a tracking device. So But yeah, I mean, I'm a little upset because Emma's not going to take it well, and I feel for her already whenever she does find out.
Yeah.
I don't think Norman will tell her right away, but I think he will, like, eventually we'll come to a point where, like, Emma will find out, or, like, Norman will have to tell Emma.
I think you're not giving Emma enough credit. I think she's going to take it better than we think she is. I think she's going to not understand, but she will be... She'll take it more in stride than I think we're expecting her to.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, you can at least understand why Norman might not have told her right away, and I wonder how he's going to handle that moving forward because you know he cares about Emma first and foremost, and it's like it's one of those situations where you know something that might upset someone, and like do you tell them or do you be honest with them? Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to upset Emma. Like I get the whole like not telling like Dawn and Gilda the truth about like what's happening to the, you know, the children whenever they leave the farm. And so I understood like a lot of his perspective of that, and that it, like it's better that they don't know, tell them later kind of thing. And so I'm wondering if he's going to like I definitely think he's going to take the same approach to Emma. And I wonder if that's going to become like a point of tension between like Norman and Ray, is like Ray's like, "Oh, you haven't told Emma what yet? Like why not?" kind of situation. Cuz I can't imagine that Ray wouldn't want to try and calculate like what's going on in Norman's mind so that he can like continue to be, you know, however many steps ahead for him and Isabella.
Yeah, if he even will he stay with Isabella? Will he what'll be his perspective? That's an interesting thing moving forward.
I mean, he already ratted out Norman.
Well, and it also is really interesting because like now that you mentioned Isabella, it reminded me that Isabella this whole time has been saying there's two kids, and we've all this time been like there's three of them. Yep. There's three of them, but it's like, oh, there are only two.
That's I think one of the most satisfying things is it solves the mystery of first the two versus three thing, and also like we talked about this last week. Like, what does Isabella know? Does she know who it is specifically? And the answer is she knew the entire time, and that's how she knew, because Ray. I feel like, I mean, it's not confirmed yet, but like that is a very satisfying answer because Crone is trying to figure out in this, but it's all, they've been discussing how Isabella knows who she knows, and then just her that like also ties together that from the previous episodes too.
I think the thing that makes the least sense now is I don't know why Isabella got Crone in the first place, because it seems like she had it completely under control without Crone, with Ray being in their group already. But I'm guessing
she told her it's insurance. I mean, maybe there's more there.
There might be more happening here than we're seeing still.
I think insurance does make sense on its own, but just have 3 of them there instead of 2 of them.
But I mean, Crone is really unstable.
She's
right, it
so
seems like a mistake.
crazy.
Oh, Crone.
Yeah.
Oh, Sister
Oh,
Crone.
Sister Crone. You gripped your doll up. What was that about?
Yeah, we'll get to
Not
that.
Do you like children or not? I don't know anymore.
Andy, what was your
very
reaction?
quick reaction.
It was. Well, Andy, what was your reaction to the twist at the end?
Oh, it kind of stunned me, and I kind of had to like go back through my memories of all these episodes and actually go back and watch a couple things. I was like, it just makes so much sense, and it would just kind of shock me that I hadn't come to that realization on my own, because the episode is so good at like kind of cutting away from Rey and not making you think of Rey in that way. But like when you look back, it's like it was clearly
Framed
stated.
plot. Yeah.
It's clearly stating to us that Rey is the traitor, like this entire episode. But it just
Exactly.
but it just is so good at just making us forget he's there sometimes, and I think that's really good. I was just stunned that I didn't think about. Like I'm saying it's praise that I did not think that Rey was the traitor.
Yeah, those are the best twists, that it's like you don't see it coming, and then you're also like, how did I not think of that?
Yeah,
and I live for twists. I wrote last year about my top 5 twists of the year. This would have been like number 3 on that list, easy. Like, this is fantastic. It's and the best part is it's in one episode. It's like it's in the first 4 episodes, and it's all comes together in one episode. It's usually it had to have this satisfying of a twist. You have to build it up over the course of a season. They're able to do such fantastic work with this one episode, and also to their credit, the previous 2 episodes as well. And the first episode, we referenced things from the first episode too. It all does come together in a really fantastic way. Just specifically with this episode, looking back on things. I don't know, Michelle, was this like prominent in your head from when you read the manga, and like, how do you think the show executed on it?
Oh, it executed it like wonderfully. And again, I feel like this is the case where every bit of dialogue that they needed, they took from the manga, but they really took their time with certain ways they framed things. Like, I really love just like the 3D way they would walk up the stairs. I mean, get that twice with different characters. And I really love just the facial expressions again, like just it heightens moments that, you know, a single drawing sometimes can do very well, but I mean, it just like it makes it even more delicious to just see it animated in front of you. I did not suspect Rey. I was like on the dawn. I'm like, yeah, it's probably Dawn. Like, it's so shady about that kid. Like, I don't know. And then it wasn't him. And I was like, wait, what? Like, why would Rey do that? Because up to that point, it's like Rey has made it clear that he cares so much about Emma and Norman, and they're the only 2 people he even considered wanting to like escape with. And I mean, I think the thing that's kind of been interesting is like clearly there's a lot going on with Rey, and like how long has he known about the demons? Like, how long has he been like working with Isabella? Like, if that's what's happening, how long has it been going on? And like, is this a chance for him to kind of spill his secrets with the 2 people he cares about? Or like, does he not care about them? Like, at this point, it's hard to say for sure, but like, I would hope that there is some genuineness in his feelings for both of them, just because we see them together all the time and they talk together a lot. But like, maybe it's meaningless, but I want to think it's not.
I'm totally in the boat that he cares for them, because in the first episode where they reveal to him that this stuff that he already clearly knew, he immediately says, let's all just escape together. And I think that is genuine.
Yeah.
I think he genuinely thought that the 3 of them could escape and he would go with them. I genuinely think he would do that for them. But as soon as they started saying we had to get everybody, he realized he couldn't be part of that. He couldn't help them do that because it just wasn't feasible. And so he started looking out for himself a little bit. But I think he genuinely cares for them, Emma and Norman at least.
I think Rey's also short-sighted in the fact that he thinks you can only do it with a super small team. But I think one of Emma's strengths is she's coming up with ways to make it actually feasible. They're splitting off into groups. They just told 2 more people who were about their age, Dawn Gilda, not the whole truth, but like a relatively half truth about the situation. They haven't, opened up about the extremeness of it, that the people are actually dying, but they know that they're committed to helping them plan a way to leave. They're training the kids to run better, to use like covering up tracks, to be better at being quiet, to being more resourceful. And I feel like if they're gonna escape, those are very good plans to have, and you need more people than just 3 people to execute like an entire orphanage breakout, right? So seeing those pieces come together, I'm becoming more confident that Emma's plan might actually pay off, and that that like.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
But like all those scenes of them working together are like constantly cut in with this scene of Isabella with the babies, like just cradling these babies, and there's this undertone of like, yeah, they have to get these babies out of here too. And Isabella clearly is going to keep her eye on those babies she's going to be very close to those babies at all time. That's what I was getting from that scene. Like,
I think it's also like they're all attached to her still. I feel like that's still a big roadblock. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to imagine Ray has complex feelings, but he's not just going to be like straight bad. I do think he probably cares about them, and that's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. A big thing I think is that Ray is going to be screwed here. We saw in the first episode the demon said pluck the 3 with the, I think he said 3 and not 2 with the highest.
Yes, did say 3.
Yep.
So even Ray thinks he's safe. He is going to be killed in a month. Like I think the show has clearly told us that. Yeah.
Even Isabella like confirmed it. She was just like in the beginning too, because they were like, oh, like prepare the 3 for shipment, and she's like, all right, got it. Like, and so I don't think he has any type of like. I think like all of the security has is very false, and I kind of understand where he's coming from. Like, it's like a backup plan to his initial plan, but his initial plan isn't going to work out for him. And I think at some point, like that betrayal is going to come out, and then Ray's going to be like gun ho on, okay, we have to get out of here. Like, even with everybody, let's go.
I think the issue is that Ray did better on the test than they were expecting. Like, as a traitor, he was not supposed to be that smart, you know what I mean? But he was so smart, they're like, he's perfect product, you know what I mean? Like, that's the way I'm kind of seeing things right now. Like, he just did too good. And all of a sudden, they're like, oh, well,
They expected him to be like mediocre, like not the worst, but also not the best.
Yeah, but now he's so good. They're like, oh well, he's high quality meat now. We got to sell him. Like
So you have the thought of like maybe this is how Isabella and Crone became moms. Is they did what Ray did, but it's possible that Ray is not on the same track as them, and they always plan to betray him. Yeah. I think that it's like another pretty insidious thing about Isabella and the demons that they would betray Ray like this. I don't think it's like that much worse than the rest of what they're doing.
I mean, I don't know if the demons are betraying Ray. Like, as far as we know, he only has cahoots in with Isabella, and maybe not how much Crone at all.
Right? Yeah.
Because we see the note go under her door, but it seems like Sister Crone's totally out of this loop, which is why she was, really pushing in on Gilda for answers.
Yeah, you definitely get the impression from this episode that Crone knows nothing about what Isabella's doing. I think it's unclear how much Isabella's actions are dictated by the demons. I think probably by this point we think there's some autonomy on her part. So like she might have came up with the Ray thing on her own. Maybe that's like standard mom training. I don't know, to have a traitor.
I feel like it's not. I think it's just something that Isabella's doing, because even Sister Crone is just like, what she's doing is wrong. Like, having to call in for
unorthodox. Yeah,
it's unorthodox. So, and we know that like Sister Crone doesn't know anything about like the relationship between Ray and Isabella, but I don't think that it's standard practice, because like Sister Crone has such an interest in becoming a mom, which means she has to know something about how like the standard operation goes. And I don't think that like having a spy is part of it. And that might just be like the key to Isabella's success with like her farm is like, look, I have all of these like super high producing children, but I also have an informant, and maybe that person gets to go on and do whatever. But I don't know that. I think she just ends up betraying them all in the end.
We'll see. We'll get back to Isabella and Crone. There's a lot here. I want to talk about Gilda. This is Gilda's breakout episode.
Gilda's breakout.
Last week was Crone. This is
Gilda's breakout.
Yeah, last week we talked about how the episode was painting Gilda as the obvious traitor. And,
not Phil.
Well, so okay, we can briefly mention Phil.
I expected Don. I looking back, I don't know. The manga just must have like really like showed his face a lot or something. I don't know why.
Steve was vindicated here because Phil was actually for a hot second painted as a possible traitor.
According to Ray, dang Ray.
You're trying to sell
like
Phil
or something. Yeah, that's harsh.
In innocent children.
Yeah. So Steve was right. Hashtag. And again, he's right about the show. He's right about Phil. I mean, he knew because he read the things. So
he knew.
That's why. Really, he was just spoiling us about Phil being a red herring.
Yeah, we didn't know that though, Dylan. We just thought he was trolling us.
No, No, yeah, it was trolling in its own way. But you spoiled us
Really
on the least
baby.
important of things, of
Yeah,
some light
yeah.
aspersions being cast on Phil by this episode. But yeah, for the most part, Gilda was kind of the big red herring last episode. And here, again, you get this buildup of her as the potential traitor. She leaves the room, Emma follows her. And we get this second first person shot of the traitor leaving the note under Isabella's door. You don't know who it is. It's directly juxtaposed with Gilda, though, so it kind of leaves off that impression. And then you see Gilda go into Crone's room, and Crone is like, it seems like Gilda's about to tell, and then she's like, she doesn't, and Emma's like really relieved, and still Crone is like trying to get what she can out of Gilda, but Gilda is like very like shades of Emma, I think, playing it cool in the face of some like pretty bad adversity from these adults. Then she like stands up for it, and Crone doesn't get anything out of her, and then her and Emma are hug and are really happy at the end. And before they're like holding hands and saying that they're always going to be there for each other.
I knew you were going to jump on that.
It was the episode. I just said it was cute. What? I didn't say anything.
It was very sweet.
Yeah.
It was sweet. They're great friends that grew up together in an orphanage.
I know. They're my new favorite friendship.
Yeah, they're
on the
family.
show. Yeah.
But I mean, Norman also liked Emma and their families.
Yeah, my counterpoint is
someone
Norman
to
has
make it
romantic
be
feelings,
family. I like all kinds of things.
What does that mean? Yeah, no, I'm shipping them, but that's okay. Look, this is the competition to the Norman and Emma ship, but that's also going strong, right? With their scene at the end here of Norman and Emma. But yeah, I think Gilda stands out for everything she did, and Gilda and Emma's relationship is really highlighted. Also, they tell Gilda this lie, and Emma's like telling them that the kids are human trafficked instead of killed. And then Emma's like comforting Gilda in that scene as well. There's just a lot of her there. I feel like she comes off as a really strong character. I think she's other than the main three, the one I'm most invested in, I think, going forward.
I also really like Gilda's like almost complete trust in Emma. Like she's like, Emma wouldn't lie about something like this. Like I really liked that about her.
Plus, she like
relationship.
She came up with a really good lie to Sister Crone, like on the spot. When Sister Crone like tries to ambush her and read her face, to be like, "Oh, Emma must have told you everything." She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Me and Emma had a fight. That's all, and we resolved it. So like, I don't know what you're thinking, but it's fine." And I think that's really great too, because like it's hard to, when you're not used to being stealthy, and that role is suddenly thrust upon you, to be able to pass that off of these people who are very smart and very scrutinous. And Emma had the same issue with Isabel in the hallway. So I'm really glad that Gilda was able to hold her own so much. And it's very quick thinking on her part.
Yeah,
but this raises a question for me. What if Crone was just wrong? What if Crone is actually wrong about all these kids she's interrogating and none of them actually know? Like she's just
gonna be in a corner and be like, "Well, I ripped my doll for nothing."
Yeah, like just imagine if like Emma didn't actually know anything and she's just screaming at Emma.
How will she have a fit now that she ruined her doll?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
well, she's got two halves. She can have two fits now.
We really hung up on the stall thing. I think Crone.
I'm glad it's gone.
You get what? How dare you?
It was so creepy.
The doll didn't do anything, April.
As soon as I saw the doll, I was like, "Oh, Sister Crone's got issues." Like,
yeah, okay. We'll talk. We're on the subject. Let's talk about Crone tearing the doll's head off.
that is anger management, like a cry for help.
Last week we were like, does Crone think this is a real child? Like, is it like? But no, apparently she just tears its head. She seemed attached to this.
I don't think that doll's in the manga at all. I think it's one of those things where you can't have a character have internal monologue when it's in an actual like filmy thing. So for her to be able to give exposition, it had to be to an object, and that doll had purpose there. But the doll's not canon in the manga at all, from what I remember.
It should be. The doll's the star of the show so far.
Oh,
for the episode. then Dylan.
I thought it was Phil.
Oh yeah, Phil, that's right. Phil's the
Phil
star.
is the star.
Who's more important, this doll or Phil? I think the doll's more important.
The doll
I
is
think
definitely
it's hard to
important.
choose between them. Yeah.
Yeah, she just tears
I'm
the doll.
so
It's brutal. Okay, back to the scene with Gilda. I think I get the sense that Crone is like positing. She's like, so Emma told you everything. I don't think Crone really knows it's Emma. I think that she's just like throwing it out there. She's desperately trying
She's
to
like
figure anything out.
she's trying to get something because clearly she has nothing.
Yeah.
And
So
isn't
this,
tell her who it is, like at all.
yeah, this episode really clarifies what each of them know. Isabella knows everything. Crone knows nothing. Is what the impression
Done.
we get.
Yeah.
Cut and dry.
We're very unsure after the previous one. But yeah, I think it's you get Crone very like desperate, like not knowing what's happening. That's an unstable force into Isabella, who seems to have everything on lock. Isabella's actions also very interesting here because she knows that they know, apparently through Ray, presumably, and yet, although I do think it's in play that Ray didn't tell them. Like Ray's note was very vague. To
Just
her.
said rope Norman bed.
So it's
I
possible
am-
Ray's
yeah.
leaving the most minimal of reports. Maybe he thinks he's controlling the situation. He's like, Isabella's going to have a traitor no matter what. I'll control her. I'll give her the breadcrumbs here, but really I'm not on her side. I could see that being like what Ray's trying to do.
I am really excited for whatever one-on-one scene Ray gets with Isabella. Because I think he's the only one of the three that hasn't had a one-on-one scene with Isabella yet. Because
Norman had one?
What was that?
Has Norman had one?
I thought he did, like right after Emma had that scene in the hallway.
I know Emma.
Norman's interacted with her, but I don't.
But
think
there's
Ray
usually
really-
other people around. There's
Oh,
never
I
been
think
like a
you're right.
one-on-one scene.
Yeah.
But Ray just hasn't interacted with Isabella much at all on screen. Like,
Yeah, which I guess is hiding it.
Well,
yeah.
to further,
hiding it.
throw you
Yeah,
off.
so I think it's in play that Ray is like the traitor in quotes, but he thinks he's not or something.
like he's
but
a double
anyway.
agent.
Yeah, he thinks he's a double agent. That could be. I will see. Yeah, it does seem like probably Isabella knew who they are. And why is she like not doing anything? I think that's an interesting question out of this episode. Like, is Isabella's just letting them go on with hatching their escape plans and
Because they have nowhere to go. Like, what are they going to do?
right? I think they're in like a dome, and this is like they're helpless.
Yeah.
Here, right? Like,
I think they're going to. What I think is going to happen is we're going to get an escape attempt, and it's going to work flawlessly, and they're going to hit one thing, and then Isabella's just going to be waiting for them there. Like, you actually thought that was going to work? Like, it's just not going to work. It's just
that could be next week.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
it literally could be next week. We could get an escape attempt.
So in this episode, we have Norman say that let's escape in 10 days, November 8th. Once the second that Ray can get the tracking devices out. That being said, I think everything that happens in this episode is in question now that Ray is the traitor.
Yes.
Because
Right? Like, was he working on it at all? Who knows?
I think they're escaping in at least 5 days, with Norman saying 10 days to Ray.
right.
Like,
So
I
I think at that point Norman
Pull the slip
suspects
on him.
Ray. Right. So Norman.
Well,
yeah.
it'll be really important whenever we get the next episode what date it is because they're all dates.
There are dates,
so.
so we know when it is. Yeah, but Norman, when he hatches the plan, he suspects Ray because he's not testing Don and Gilda. He's testing Ray by not. He didn't actually tell Don and Gilda where the potential ropes were hidden.
He didn't even tell Emma. He only told her that he was just working on figuring
he told
out who the
them
was.
time. He's like, I've got a plan for the test both of them. And then Ray's like, well, what if it's not them? He's like, I got a plan for that too. Don't worry.
And so everything after Norman tells us he's a plan is Norman suspecting Ray, including him telling them about the 10 days thing. So that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Plus, it just occurred to me before Norman takes Emma's side and asks her, he also takes Ray aside. He takes Ray aside first. He asks him, what kind of person do you think could be a traitor? And Ray tells him, like, well, maybe somebody who is bartering that for some sort of freedom.
Yeah, he gives Ray a chance to explain himself.
He's talking to both of them, which I think is really interesting. I think he does kind of like want to trust both of them, even though he's suspecting one of them the entire time. And again, I think it just speaks to their bond as a trio.
And I really like how, like, in a lot of anime, characters like Norman, who are like really smart, like they tend to not be like caring or emotional. Like, it's really clear here that Norman doesn't want Ray to be the traitor.
Yeah,
like, he really doesn't want to be right. And I really like that part of this.
Well, yeah, that's his friend. And I think that, I think that's something just to kind of be treasured in, like, I guess the entirety of the show is that, like, even though Norman suspects, Ray, he still wants him to not be, and he like gives him like all these opportunities to like be the good guy kind of situation. And because he doesn't necessarily, and I think especially after his conversation with Emma, he was just like, he's like, yeah, like I would still want Ray to like live, even if we have to force him out of here or something along those lines. So
yeah, the scene right before Emma and Norman, and then Emma says she wants to believe in the traitor. Norman and Ray are talking, and he's basically giving Ray a chance to explain why he's doing it, and Ray offers this up, and I think it's his real motivation, and it's interesting that he would say that. All of that's pretty interesting actions by both Norman and Ray at that point that potentially indicate that they might have. Still have attachments to each other, and this may not be like a parting of the trio. Well, yeah, and like some specific shots. I made the screen cap a shot of the three of them kind of looking at each other. I think there's like really good imagery hinting at the twist as well, with the three of them, and that's probably true of the rest of the episode too. And then again, like I said, even the beginning of the episode with Norman's hiding the rope there. For this first person thing, so we've talked about this a little bit. Let's get into this, because this show has done some interesting directorial things, and I think this is definitely the most prominent. Like the clocks, I think is the biggest one previously. This one takes the first person thing. Notably, I think Bloom Into You in its first episode did some interesting first person shots here, and this one starts with we have them going up to talk to Don and Gilda, and we get this first person shot of Emma going up the stairs. And then the second one is we get this first person shot of the traitor, like I said, leaving a note under Isabella's door. So for me, the second one was super effective because it's a really great way to not give away who it is while still having some suspense of, oh, this is a person who's doing it. And it also worked with the misdirect of Gilda, and it wasn't that long. I thought that was fantastic. The first one was like really long, and
it was really long.
The first one was way too long.
Really long, really little janky 3D-ish stuff going. But so it's not like it was like top grade animation, top grade directorial work, but my interpretation is probably like there's no reason to do Emma in a first person shot there other than to ramp up suspense. I think it's to like frame the second shot. I feel like the second shot's the important one here. You have to acclimate the audience to it. So in that regard, I'm okay with it if that's the purpose, even though I don't really think the first one succeeded on its own. I think that like it is a good job acclimating this fantastic second first person shot, which is so good in that entire sequence.
Well, I'll say what I liked with the first one, because I still like the first one. I liked the first one we did. I was the first person one. Oh my!
You're allowed to.
First person shot.
First person.
Yeah, but I really liked it because it got me into their shoes, Emma's and the team's shoes, because we're seeing it from like just inherently, it's a little less scary to be in third person from these people because we can see around corners, we can see what's going on around them. But in first person, this whole house is like just a minefield, because you see them going up these stairs, like their vision is so constrained of like all these hallways and stuff, and it kind of gets me to understand like any corner they take could have like Isabella or Crone around it. Like they just have to be on their game at every moment, and it really got me into their shoes. I do think this first one's a little long, but I still liked it. I really did like the tension it brought to the scene.
All right, cool. April, what didn't you like about them?
I think you made a good case for it.
Yeah, I think you made a good case, and I think, I think both Andy and Dylan made a really good case for it. I do agree that like the second one is a little like it's more, I guess, more satisfying just because it plays into the whole tension of it. But I just didn't like feel that tension in the first one. It was just way too long. Like if we could have. I don't know, like if there could have been any kind of like lead up to it kind of situation, like in the second one, like we sort of see like Gilda, like we see her like exiting through the door, and then we go to the first person shot, and so then you're like, oh my gosh, this is like Gilda's perspective, and it sort of further like perpetuates the idea that Gilda's the traitor. But in the first one, like there's no like lead up to it. We're just going up the stairs.
But exactly. Like if they had revealed the three of them walking up the stairs, it would have been like from the get-go, then we could have contextualized like, oh, okay, well they're walking up. Is something going to happen to them? Because usually stuff happens to them. But we don't get that till like almost the end of that sequence. So it's a little like, oh, we're still going upstairs. But who are we? Does it matter? Is it scary or not?
Who's setting the scene?
Yeah.
Are we?
Who are we? Yeah. Who is this?
But the tension for me was that I didn't know who was walking up the stairs. Like, I thought it was the traitor, which, funnily enough, it was, because it was Ray going up the stairs, and it's Ray going down the hallway first person. Both of them are. I think.
Oh, I thought it was Emma going.
No. But Dylan, if you watch the shot, the hand doesn't come from the person who's first person. It comes from just to their left. It comes from not the person we're seeing the eyes out of for the first time.
Emma was walking in front of them, so wouldn't you have seen Emma going up the stairs?
I think they made concessions here for the
it's an interesting concept. Yeah, I don't. It's the fact that's questionable, but I think it's definitely jarring at the very least. But I even if I didn't like the first time, I always love trying new things like this. And I
appreciate the effort.
Yeah, I'm heartened that we're just doing interesting things in the middle, because I do think anime seasons sometimes are like beginning and end a lot of, and then the middle we're coasting. We're not coasting here. Like there's a lot of effort being put into this episode, and I thought it was good.
Also, I'm pretty sure they CG'd the entire house. Like, the entire house is CG, so I'm kind of expecting to see more of this, Dylan, because if you CG the entire house, like, you gotta use it at some point.
Yeah. Don't waste those transformation sequences.
Yeah, when are we going to get transformation sequences in the show? Magical Girl.
But I'm saying, it's the same concept. Like, you don't spend the money if you're not going to use it. Otherwise, it's a waste.
Yeah. I wonder if the house being CG is, it could relate to a twist, too. Like, you could play in the animation, because there's going to be, like everything could be fake. Like, we talked about it being Truman Show. Like, they could do interesting things with elements of the way the show is constructed playing into future twists. I'd love if that happened.
It would make for, like, a really good sort of, like, chase through the house kind of sequence.
Yeah. Like, if the house is changing all the time.
Yeah.
What if the house isn't real?
Yeah.
What if
the house isn't real? Yeah, it's hard to chase them through a house if the house stops being real.
Wait, what if they're all in the Sword Art Online, Andy, and they're just like not really in the house and they have the goggles on? And okay, so in the beginning of this episode, we have.
Okay, so wait. First off, there's a dome, and it's got a never-ending platform. You have to short circuit the.
Okay, the one scene we haven't gotten into too much is Isabel and Crone in the beginning, where Isabel's basically berating Crone. She says, "Stop trying to figure out which kids it was. You have nothing to do but be my pawn," she says, and
I don't understand that. Like
This is so interesting, because we keep saying, like, oh, Isabel's, like, not watching the kids because she knows who it is. But, like, Isabella brought Sister Crone for, like, extra hands to help with this. Clearly, she didn't think she could do it on her own. But she's also offering Crone the thing that she wants. She's, like, she's got her pegged. She knows that Sister Crone, like, is working behind her back and trying to find out the kids on her own, even though she explicitly told her not to the second she got there. And now she's upping that promise, being like, look, if you just do what I freaking say, I will let you be a mom. I promise. And so, like, she wouldn't offer her that if she didn't feel like she had to. I don't think Isabella's the kind of person to just give handouts. And she's been very stiff to Sister Crone the entire time she's been in the same house with her. So I really think that points to Isabella feeling like she needs to make this concession for that, maybe so the other demons don't find out, or so Crone, like, won't succeed and backstab her. So, like, there are actual, like, things for Isabel to be concerned about for her own personal, like, situation right now. And I think that's also very interesting. It's not as firm and fine as I feel like we've been assuming it is. And this conversation just highlights that.
Yeah, you definitely get the impression that Isabella understands what Crone's been up to and what she wants, because she says, I know you've been trying to figure out who it was. Stop that. And also, if you behave, I'll make sure that you're a mom after this. But then she follows it up with, you're a smart girl, don't make any more mistakes, which we understand because we see Crone's reaction is probably not the way if you want Crone to be if you want to be conciliatory to Crone, because that just sets her off. So maybe she doesn't understand that Crone, this isn't the way to talk to Crone if you want her to be on your team. Or maybe she's trying to elicit this reaction out of Crone. I think that's a little bit unclear, because from our perspective, it seems like she's mishandling Crone. Like, it seems like she has all the information and just isn't accounting for her personality. But maybe she wants Crone unstable. I don't know. It's still a little bit unclear.
That's kind of the thing I like least about a show like this, Dylan, because anime have this thing where there's, like, these chess player type characters where they're trying to get around each other, like with this traitor and stuff, and with Isabella trying to catch the kids. And it's like, they sometimes do this thing where there's, like, this 4D chess game they're playing where they make these leaps of logic where they place pieces around. Like, and it just doesn't make sense how that works in their favor even after we get to the end. And I'm kind of worried we're going that route. So I'm really hoping that this is just Isabella making a mistake narratively, because I don't see how she could be accounting for the fact that Crone is absolutely crazy into her plan.
Isabella, to be fair, Isabella hasn't been there for like the doll conversations and stuff, so she hasn't like
we just not
seen
know
that herself.
about the craziness.
That I'm fine with. I am happy if Isabella just doesn't know that Crone is crazy.
Yeah, I think Crone is hiding it, I think, well from Isabella.
Yeah.
I agree. We really need Isabella's motives illuminated at some point in the show. That's definitely true. But we had, at least we got something. Like, I feel like the scene is more than I thought we'd get in this episode, because we do like instantly pay off. Like last episode, it's like Crone's gonna do, like, she's gonna betray Isabella. She wants to be a mom. And this episode, Isabella's like, don't betray me and I'll make you a mom on my own. So it's like we directly get the consequence. I think we're still moving very fast here. So I still do have some confidence that things will pay off in the short term.
I think it'll be sad if, like, literally Isabella just brought Crone in. She's like, I just need you to just be here. Like, pretend like you're helping me. You're not doing anything. Like, well, that's how you're helping me.
I think that's honestly like what she's doing though. And I think that Isabella's biggest disservice to her own plan right now is to not use Crone more, to assume she can handle this on her own, because she's actively making a bigger enemy by like telling Crone not to do anything and giving her a cold shoulder. I think if she would allow herself to work with Crone, they could do such a much better job at keeping these kids together and under control than having them actively work apart. And that's the situation she's kind of creating for herself by how she's treated Sister Crone since she got there. And that's also, I think that's very interesting. It's like, kind of sucks for Isabella if it plays out that way, but she kind of made her own worst enemy by putting her in there.
Yeah, it does seem like she's mishandling Crone, that she's being too controlling in general, that like she's lying to the demon, saying she has everything under control. She's trying to control Crone. Like, it seems like a lot to prop up on herself.
She's just taking it all on. She needs to relax.
Definitely wouldn't at this point. I think wouldn't be surprised if we had a shock mid-season death from Isabella. I don't know where we go from there, but I think that she's the most likely main character to die.
Or Crone dies.
Yeah, but I think Crone is like,
the
she's
obvious
introduced
choice.
to us. Yeah, I feel like Crone she's more of the side character. She's more introduced to us later. Like Isabella, I feel like right now she's our big bad. It'd be pretty shocking if she died. And I'd expect this show kind of to do the shocking thing.
I feel like if this show's gonna like super go for the shock factor, they're gonna kill like Ray or somebody.
Well, I thought that, but now Ray's the traitor, so maybe he's the expected one. I feel like Ray might kill Isabella if he really wants to prove that he's not the traitor anymore. Ray or Isabella, someone's dying. I think
someone's dying.
We've already decided.
Presumably Emma and Norman are safe, but I don't know.
I'm not sure about Norman, because the way he said he would sacrifice everything for Emma in the second episode is pretty. That's a big
foreshadowing.
A lot.
Leap for an 11-year-old.
Emma's like the only person in the show that I'm like completely sure is safe. Like that
Emma
is it.
seems safe. Yeah. It definitely.
I was
seems
like,
that.
I don't know that anyone is safe anymore. Honestly, Connie was pretty cute. So
Connie was pretty cute. It's true.
Yeah, Connie was set up to die. So, like, what other characters were set up to die in this
Phil.
narrative?
They're all set up. I mean, like they're all.
Well, they're all in the position to die.
All in position to die.
Yeah,
all of
That's
them are
true.
in the position to live at this moment.
yeah, Michelle. They are all set up to be eaten by demons. That is a true statement.
Yeah, the demons are gonna die. That's the shock. The demon.
There's
the demon
a lot
god.
of them, from what I understand.
There's maybe. Yeah, no demons this episode. That's another notable thing.
Yeah.
The last thing was they play tag in teams, as mentioned. I thought that was a good scene as well.
I'm glad.
I like the team. Like, anytime they play tag, I always enjoy those scenes. Like, and I really, really enjoyed this one. Like, it was very like fun, and like it seemed super lighthearted despite like the serious like notions behind it. And then I don't know, it just made me feel good.
Everyone's a sweet kid to each other in this orphanage. Like, I kept expecting there to be like little sneaky riffs, and like some kid would be the bullied, but like no, they're all like really nice to each other and they really like each other, and I think that's like kind of wonderful. Like how like yeah, it was like, oh, are Don and Gilda gonna be like sneaky sneaks, but like no, they're just concerned about their friends and they're willing to help out, and they don't know the whole story, but they understand enough of the gravity of the situation to just like wholeheartedly support the cause. And I think again that points to Emma having like the trust in other people that Ray and Norman may not have as much of, and how needed that is for, you know, to spare lives, to try to save more people.
Yep. I think all of them are precious. Don comes
precious.
Across well here, right? Like
Yeah.
even Don's fine.
Oh.
I don't
we thought
hate
he's the
any
traitor.
of the character, like any of the kids.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that.
Don is fine, Dylan, but I'm more interested in what he's going to do when he finds out Connie's dead.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's the
Oh,
most
yeah,
thing about
I
it. He's going to go off.
Bonnie.
Yeah.
Don kills Isabella.
Yeah, no,
after he
Don
learns Connie's
is
dead.
like you were saying. Ray was
That's
going to
the
kill.
sneak attack.
Please.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was like the most emotionally charged relationship, I feel like, other than Emma and Norman that's been said. I guess Emma and Gilda. But yeah, there's like, that was a big part of the first episode. Okay. I think we got everything in here. Michelle, anything else or final thoughts here?
I also want to learn more about Isabella. I mean, I want to know, like, I want to know more about Isabella. And I want to know more about Ray. I want to know about their situations separately, but also working together, and if those two things intermingle much at all or not. So, yeah, I want more backstories.
Could have some flashbacks. That'd be interesting. Yeah, we've only already gotten one so far, I think, from that first scene. Yeah. Okay, April, final thoughts.
I don't know how much backstory I want, because I like being able to just focus on what's happening at hand versus like trying to figure everything else out. So I don't know, but I'm excited to see what happens next. Always.
Always. Okay. Andy.
I just think this episode was kind of exactly what I wanted from like after episode 3 ended. I just wanted us to explain why Ray specifically was so good at figuring out what was going on with like the tracker and stuff. And this was great. But now I'm kind of in the boat of we need to actually have plot progression. So if we don't get like at least the start of the breakout next episode, I'm going to be getting a little antsy because I think we've sat here a little long. We were very familiar with this setting, and I want something a little different now.
Look, we can't go very far. We're trapped in a dome.
4 episodes.
The show moves
I know
fast,
a lot's
though.
happened, but all right.
That's something that I really enjoy about this show too, is that this show is moving very quickly, but it's doing it very well. So I have no complaints in regards to that. Like with how much like information it's sort of throwing, and like a lot of the action is coming at you. I'm really enjoying that aspect of it.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
And next week, will we have an escape attempt? I think that's going to be the big thing to look out for.
Will we destroy trackers?
Will we cut off
Oh,
children's
cool.
ears?
Well,
Oh,
ears
no,
and
that
shots.
ear scene. Yeah, that
Yeah,
ear scene.
no, Dylan,
I don't think it's the ears.
No, but Dylan, I am convinced that when they first found those trackers, I'm like, there's gonna be a bucket of ears at some point.
Yeah,
in this.
you wanted the hilltop of ears, I feel like.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I want a bucket
Also,
of-
no deaths recently, so maybe
Yeah,
everyone's safe.
I don't
Maybe.
think we're
No.
going to get a death
False
until
sense of
like the
security.
end.
Oh, think
Like the
Isabella,
second to
but-
last episode, I think we'll see a death. But I'm still not convinced the trackers are in the ears.
I think we're gonna get. I think maybe we're not gonna see death soon, but we're gonna see something gory or messed up soon. I think we've been a little long without something messed up happening.
Yeah, the only like horror shot was Crone with Gilda. Like
And
confronting
the
her.
doll, you're forgetting.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that a horror
the
shot or-
doll's-
I don't know, I
the
guess
doll's
so.
Dead. Everyone's upset.
Oh yeah.
Rip doll. Okay, Rip doll. Let us know your thoughts on the doll in the comments section here.
Yep. Please.
Website and youtube.com/overlyanimated. Next week we'll see if we have a podcast next week. If not, we'll double up the following week, but it might be delayed. It might do double up the following week. So just a heads up on that. But we will continue to cover The Promised Neverland here, and let us know what you've thought of the show. You're looking forward to seeing. No spoilers in the comments, of course.
Please.
Yes, no spoilers. Subscribe, talk with us on our Discord at overlyanimated.com/Discord. And consider supporting us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Steve, aka frequent commenter Steve, who was right about Phil, whoever. Steve, aka
Whoever it was.
Steve, aka Phil, is his new nickname. And thanks as always to our patron, executive producers, John Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Hugh. Yeah, so we'll be back at some point for future Promise Neverland. Check out other stuff at overlyanimated.com, including She-Ra, Young Justice Outsiders, Genlock, a bunch of random stuff this weekend. I don't even keep track of it all. But yeah, all that at overlyanimated.com. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.